In my previous upload, I addressed a sort of traditional pro-choice approach to the abortion issue, in which one will hold that we should allow abortions, even if a fetus is granted the status of personhood and given full human rights, because the small evil of violating a child's individual right is justified by the greater good of preventing him or her from suffering through a life unworthy of living. Now, in that video, I made two central points, and I'm going to quickly summarize. The first point was that there is no satisfactory definition for the term a life unworthy of living. Nobody agrees because we all have different standards, and there is no reason to favor one individual standard over another individual standard. There is no one individual who should have the power to make that determination for anybody else. Now, I am a fervent believer that individuals should have the right to commit suicide if they want. But a Christian may say that a secular life is a life unworthy of living, and then think that they are being merciful by killing atheists. But they don't get to make that determination. If we grant a fetus rights, neither does the mother. The second point that I made in the previous video was to claim that our obligation to uphold individual rights supersedes our obligation to prevent suffering. So even if we do assume that the child will be born into a life unworthy of living, we are still obliged to uphold his or her individual rights, even if we further assume that we have the right to make that kind of determination. Now, I would like to further stress that if we tossed all of this aside, I still do not feel that we should instill any governmental institution with the jurisdiction necessary to make such a determination. I do not feel that any individual or any body of individuals in the government should have the right to decide when it will and when it will not acknowledge our rights. The government may never violate, abridge, or ignore our rights, or human rights. It doesn't even have to be civil rights or citizens' rights. Human rights in general must be acknowledged by all governments. And on an international level, we as the international community must enforce this. That is my personal belief. Now, other people may challenge this, but I don't want the government saying that, well, it's against our Constitution for me to forcibly convert this individual to Christianity. But I think that by doing this, we're going to instill a good Protestant work ethic and work our way out of this economic crisis. I don't want the government doing that. Maybe it will serve the greater good in some abstract way. Maybe not. I don't know. But even if we assume it does, I don't want the government making that decision for me. I stand for individual freedoms. You know, that's kind of something that I actually like about discussing abortion. It forces individuals from both sides to adopt libertarianism as a central justification for their position. Now, that's one good thing. Now, I wish that we would not be trying to fortify our positions. I wish that we would be more interested in finding the truth and finding out who is right and who is wrong. But if we are going to debate, or rather if we are going to bicker over who is right and who is wrong instead of what is true, then it is still good, in my opinion, that we can at least adopt libertarianism in the process. I think that libertarianism, not as a whole, like their views on the rich and poor is bad, but their views on individual rights, I think that we should all adopt those. I very much agree with those. And that's just me. But I'm bringing this up because in that video, I pointed out a relationship between this argument being employed to defend abortion to an argument that was employed by Hitler to defend the Holocaust. And it was employed by Hitler to defend the Holocaust. The basic idea was the same. The pro-choicers are saying we can violate individual rights to prevent future suffering. And if you read some of the early Nazi propaganda, like the life unworthy of life, you will find that this was the exact same principle. And if the similarity in presentation can be dismissed as coincidental, you can also trace these two arguments back to a common ancestor, eugenics. In Mein Kampf, Hitler wrote that his model for what he wanted in Germany was the American system of eugenics. And this was embodied by the exact same argument that he presented to justify the Holocaust, and that is now being presented to justify abortion, even if we grant that the fetus is a person. The eugenics argument stated that we can sacrifice individual rights to prevent future suffering. We can force a woman to have her fallopian tube sliced open if this means that we will prevent her from delivering a child into a life unworthy of living. The basic principle was the same. So that's the eugenics argument. Its son was the Nazi argument, and its daughter was the abortion argument. But the abortion argument and the Nazi argument are therefore siblings. They are very closely related, and indeed these are identical twins. Although they seem to have been delivered at different time periods somehow, they are identical twins. They have the exact same identity, the exact same components. The only difference is a slight change in opinion, where one focuses specifically on fetuses, the other focuses on Jews and Austrians and cripples and that type of thing. Now, I want to clarify that I am not saying abortion is the moral equivalent of the Holocaust. I don't think that it is. So what do I think morally of the action of abortion, and how about the mothers who obtain abortions? Well, I'm going to tell you right off the bat, I try not to judge the mothers at all. I think that it would be very foolish to attempt to do so, because I have not been in their shoes. And the only way to have all the facts is to walk around in their skin and to be in those exact same circumstances, to have gone through their life exactly as they did. Since I have not, I do not have all the facts, and it would not be sagacious, it would not be logical for me to draw a conclusion knowing that I don't have all of the necessary information to do so reasonably. So I don't judge the mother. But as far as the action goes, I'm completely okay with saying yes, abortion is good or evil. But I'm going to tell you what I feel about abortion morally and ethically in my next video, and I think it's going to surprise people from both sides of the debate. Thank you.